Welcome to the PIDP 3250 Instructional Strategies assignment. I'm going to introduce you to WebQuests. In a WebQuest, the teacher becomes a facilitator. The facilitator is in charge of a learning environment, for example, this gray box pictured here. In that learning environment, they'll have students, and they'll have an end goal or learning outcome. The facilitator's job is to bring students towards that learning outcome by designing a task, in this case it'll be the WebQuest, to get them there. Now there's a student version and a teacher version of the WebQuest. Each are like their own mini website. The student's version, as shown here, will have an introduction, where the facilitator introduces the WebQuest, a task, which is a basic outline from beginning to end, a process, which is a much more detailed version of the task broken down for the learners, and this may include links, images, or videos to help the students with their WebQuest. Evaluation is where a marking rubric is generally used to evaluate student performance, and in conclusion, there's closing statements for the WebQuest. If their students want to dive a little deeper into the topic, some resources can be posted here as well. Finally, in the credits, the facilitator might want to thank anyone special or post any potential references. Likewise, on the teacher page, the introduction is fairly the same. In learners, it tells you who the target learners are supposed to be. The standards are the standards of the institution or the prescribed learning outcomes of the said region, like the province or the state. The process is the process, but in the teacher's point of view, and the resources are there to help the teacher facilitate the WebQuest. Now, what are some of the best practices for using WebQuests? Well, in one example, cross-curricular quests are quests that cover different subject areas. For example, I'm going to show you one right now called Newsflash, which works across multiple subjects. In this case, there's a news network and they've run out of news. The task for the students is to form a group of 5 and come up with a news story as soon as possible. As you'll see here in the task, using some Anchorman humor, they must find and assemble a group of 5 people. They will then have to decide on a story to cover and eventually upload it to YouTube or another website. The process is just like the task, but it'll break it down much further, where they'll have a videographer, an audio technician, a field reporter, a scriptwriter, and an anchor. From there, there's also a bunch of other tasks which get a little bit more technical. As you can see, it's all very outlined and very detailed. We'll get back to the slides here. Now, the role of the facilitator is to design and facilitate the WebQuest, be there for support, provide a rubric for evaluation, and provide feedback for students. Feedback is crucial. The role of the students, or the learners, is to venture through the WebQuest and use any available resources for help, including the internet. Now, there are different pros and cons of WebQuests. 3 main pros here. Learning literacy, where students need to have a level of literacy in order to read through and comprehend the tasks. Now, by going through the WebQuest, students' literacy skills will naturally develop. Learning through experience, where WebQuests will allow the possibility of creating physical teamwork tasks. For example, Newsflash embodies working in a team of 5, each with their own role, collaborating together to make a news team. Collaborating together leads into social interaction. Positive social interaction while working together can increase the quality of learning. Likewise, there are some cons with every learning task. The cons of WebQuests include that some students may have lower literacy levels than others, and this may cause some friction with the workload. Likewise, some students will have different capabilities accessing internet resources, which also may impede progress. And staying on task. Sometimes information found on the internet might be interesting, but it might not be so relevant to the task at hand. And seeing as students will be using the internet, it's important to try to keep students on task, as the internet can be a very distracting place. Well, there's your introduction to WebQuests. Thank you for watching, and please enjoy these references.